Today, I want to talk about Robert Reich, or as I like to call him, Robespierre Reich. Because it looks like Robespierre Reich has found another scapegoat for inflation, this time Starbucks.
No surprise there.
This seems to be a recurring segment I'm doing. If you recall, those new to my channel, back in November, I made a video where I responded to Crystal Ball and Sagar and Jetty of Breaking Point's populist left and populist right coming together to destroy the elites. So I made a video titled Crystal and Sagar Find Scapegoats for Inflation. And then in January, I made another video responding to Kyle Kulinski of Secular Talk, titled Secular Talk Finds a Scapegoat for Inflation. And now Robespierre Reich is jumping on this bandwagon of blaming big business, greedy corporations for price increases. As you can see right here, this tweet has 52,000 likes on Twitter, 12,000 retweets. Robespierre Reich says Starbucks is raising prices again, blaming the supply chain issues and labor costs. Meanwhile, the Starbucks CEO's total compensation rose 39% in 2021 to $20.4 million. Do not be fooled. This is about corporate greed. It always is. Of course, Robespierre Reich was not alone in this sentiment. Dan Price, also Robespierre Reich, I should add, has over 1 million followers on Twitter. For those who don't know, this is a well-respected intellectual amongst the left, the political left in America. Dan Price, CEO who has over 600,000 followers on Twitter, he jumped on this bandwagon saying, Starbucks, we are forced to raise prices due to inflation and supply chain issues. Also Starbucks, our profit just went up 31% and we gave our CEO a 39% raise to $20.4 million. Companies are doing a great job of rebranding corporate greed as inflation.
Blow it out your ass.
And now we have politicians. We also have politicians like Pramila Jayapal, who is a representative in Congress from Washington, saying that despite soaring profits, Starbucks is raising its prices again. We cannot accept this level of corporate greed as the status quo. Tax the rich and make sure every single worker in America can join a union. So, I guess nowadays a $3 latte is a human right. And also, apparently the solution to this is to raise taxes on the rich and increase union membership in the United States. Apparently those two things will magically bring the price of a coffee back down to earth. Don't know how that lines up. Reminds me of this clip from Better Call Saul.
I can see how upset you are, and even on a good day, you and Logic are.
Also, Ro Khanna, another politician. Oh yeah, also Robespierre Reich. He posted this on his Facebook, as you can see. Has tens of thousands of likes, tens of thousands of shares. But Ro Khanna, another representative in Congress, he made this Robespierre Reich tweet into a meme, adding exactly, let's call this inflation what it really is, price gouging. And I find this part interesting because Ro Khanna appeared recently on Bill Maher's show on HBO. And when he was on Bill Maher's show, Bill Maher made an interesting point, saying that he does not like that Democrats have become known as being the party of being anti-wealth, asking Ro Khanna, why can't Democrats be the party of let's get rich? And Ro Khanna actually seemed to agree with that sentiment, saying stuff like, yeah, Democrats, we need to stop being the party that demonizes wealth.
So, yes, the Democrats ought to have an aspirational economic message. We ought not to demonize wealth, but we can...
Yeah, we ought not to demonize wealth. Yeah, that did not last very long for Ro Khanna.
No surprise there.
Left-wing pages like the other 98% also shared Ro Khanna's meme. So this is a popular sentiment going around. And notice the emphasis that Robespierre Reich places on corporate greed. This reminds me, I got to tap the sign and remind you guys that the capitalism versus socialism debate is not about economics.
You're goddamn right.
Take a company like Starbucks, which is a very successful company, and you think about all of the value they've created, Starbucks, not just for their shareholders, how many customers that they make happy, millions of customers every day that Starbucks pleases with their delicious, conveniently made coffee. Does not matter how many workers, which I think is in the hundreds of thousands, that Starbucks employs with reportedly good pay and benefits. None of that matters because Starbucks has created the greatest, most horrible sin one can commit in a culture of collectivism and altruism, and that is the sin of making money. So when I see a knucklehead like Pramila Jayapal shriek and holler and bitch and moan about how Starbucks is seeing soaring profits, you know what I think? I think, hey, that's pretty cool.
Well done.
What an amazing story. Millions of people every day get to enjoy delicious, convenient, relatively low-priced coffee. Hundreds of thousands of employees are getting paid. Shareholders are making money. Executives are getting paid millions of dollars. It sounds to me like everyone involved with Starbucks is winning. But Robespierre Reich is making a big fuss about the CEO's compensation. And I think we need to talk about this because when Robespierre Reich, when he brings this up with cherry-pick statistics, I think what he wants you to think is that the CEO of Starbucks just gets paid $20 million in cash. He's siphoning it from the company's profits and earnings. Robespierre Reich is trying to put an image in your head of a rich dude in a well-tailored suit, just carrying bundles, hundreds or tens of millions of dollars in bundles of cash in a wheelbarrow, moving it to his brand new Porsche in the parking lot of the corporate headquarters of Starbucks. But let's look into the details of the compensation for the CEO of Starbucks. This is an article from Market Watch by Tommy Kilgore from January 31st of 2022. Talks about how Starbucks Corporation disclosed that Chief Executive Kevin Johnson's total compensation for 2021 totaled $20.4 million in 2021, up 39% from $14.6 million in 2020, which was down from $19.24 million in 2019, roughly 27%. The Robespierre Reiches, they won't tell you that detail. Well, why did his salary go down in 2020 but then up again in 2021? Well, according to the Coffee Giant's 2021 proxy statement released late Friday, Johnson's base salary rose 4.5% from a year ago to $1.6 million, while the value of stock afterwards grew 32% to $14.76 million, and non-equity incentive plan compensation increased by 117% to $4 million. So it looks like a lot of this has to do with stock valuation. It's not like the CEO of Starbucks is siphoning money from the Starbucks company or the earnings or the profits and then passing that cost on to the consumer, as someone like a Robespierre Reich would want you to think. Now we have to talk about why Starbucks is starting to raise prices. And from what I've read and what Robespierre Reich alludes to in this tweet, There appear to be two main reasons. The first being Starbucks promising to raise the wages for their workforce. This is according to an article on the Wall Street Journal by Heather Haddon from February 1st of 2022. Starbucks sales rise as cost pressures increase at the coffee chain. Talks down here about how the company also spent more on COVID isolation pay for workers and on training as the chain hired more employees. Starbucks said last year it would boost average U.S. employee pay to $17 an hour, up from roughly $14 an hour at the time. The wage increase and two other recent ones were slated to constitute an additional $1 billion in spending on employees. The CEO said Tuesday that the wage increases would remain the right approach as the chain aims to fully staff its stores, saying the battle for talent is notable. It's not just the Wall Street Journal. There's also this article from October of 2021 by Amelia Lucas about how Starbucks announces wage hikes that will hit $15 an hour minimum by next summer, saying that the company is planning a second pay hike for the summer of 2022, which will bring its average wage up to $17 an hour. Current hourly pay is $14 an hour. The new pay floor will be $15 an hour, while employees in some markets will earn as much as $23 an hour. This is on top of the fact that Starbucks is known for offering their employees health insurance benefits. Now, the Robespierre Reiches, the Ro Khannas, the Pramila Jayapals of the world, the Dan Prices of the world, they've been saying for years that we need a $15 an hour federal minimum wage because they think that's what constitutes a living wage. In fact, they also all want Medicare for all. Robespierre Reich even put out an article in 2015 talking about the morality of the $15 an hour minimum wage. Remember, guys, it's not about economics. Robespierre Reich also tweeted in February of 2021 about how we need a $15 minimum wage. Ro Khanna posted an article on his government website about how Americans need a $15 an hour minimum wage. And I want to take it a step further because if you recall, I made a video last year called The Minimum Wage Debate is Not About Economics. And one of the trends I bring up is a lot of the minimum wage warriors, when they're dealt with this common criticism of the minimum wage that it will result in price increases because if you raise the cost of labor, a lot of businesses are going to pass that cost onto the consumers. And a lot of these minimum wage warriors, if you remember people like Josh Raby, they embrace this. They say that they're willing to endure the cost of price increases if it means that workers are getting a living wage. Josh Raby, this is from last year, January of 2021. As you can see, 158,000 likes, 20,000 retweets. Says, "Hi. I manage a restaurant with dozens upon dozens of employees. $15 an hour is good. We will be fine. The burgers won't go up by that much. They'll go up a little. The money added to the pockets will still be more. We've done the math. Stop pretending you've done it for us." And as you can see, adding right here, ultimately, you are not making a mathematical argument. You are making a moral argument. What do I keep telling you, folks? You morally believe my dishwasher should not start at $15 an hour. Your morals suck. Our math is good. $15 an hour is good. Shut up. And this is a talking point I've seen for years. Here's a post from 2018 from a left-wing group called Patriotic Millionaires, which is essentially an organization of millionaires who are eager to sell Bolshevik Bernie Sanders a rope to hang them with. But as you can see, they say McDonald's would only have to raise the price of the Big Mac by 17 cents in order to pay all of their workers a $15 an hour minimum wage. Now, it sounds like these statistics are dropping a ton of context and other information, but let's run with it. They're running with this talking point, hey, yeah, we're willing to endure the cost of price increases if it means that all of the workers are getting a living wage. So you would think that a company like Starbucks would get overwhelming support for these price increases to make sure their workforce gets a price floor of $15 an hour, with many workers getting $17 to $23 an hour, plus healthcare benefits, plus paid sick leave for workers who test positive for COVID. You would think Starbucks would be applauded and praised by the Robespierre Reiches, the Ro Khannas, and the Dan Prices of the world. But no, Starbucks is still evil because they dare to make profits. Do I need to point to the sign again? It is not about economics for these monumental buttholes. Now, going back to the Wall Street Journal article, the Wall Street Journal article also talks about how the price increases are a result of supply chain disruptions, saying in the U.S., labor shortages at the chain's regular suppliers prompted Starbucks to turn to higher cost vendors to fulfill demand, Mr. Johnson said. Quote, we anticipate supply chain disruptions will continue for the foreseeable future, unquote. And I have a reason to believe that supply chains are playing a role, because it's not just Starbucks raising the price on coffee. Another article on Fortune magazine written by Catherine Dunn from December 8th of 2021 talks about how coffee prices hit a 10-year high, rising more than any other commodity this year. Talking about how factors that have hit prices for the bean, including shipping shortages and weather, are also hitting everything else that goes into a cup of coffee, from packaging materials to labor costs to the cost of energy. Gee, guys, I wonder if hostility toward fossil fuel energy as a result of climate change. I wonder if this hostility toward fossil fuel energy is going to have some costs that we have to deal with. Cost of energy involved in shipping and roasting coffee. Another article on the Wall Street Journal written by Hardika Singh from February 1st of 2022 talks about how coffee prices climb, pushed up by bad weather and supply chain woes. Talking about how a company like Arabica Coffee Futures rose 76% in 2021 and have continued to advance. Talking about how the surge in prices is hitting coffee sellers and roasters, which are passing it on to consumers. Nestle, which sells at-home coffee through the Starbucks and Nescafe brands, is among those feeling the pressure. Though Nestle, one of the world's biggest coffee producers, managed to avoid price increases for the most part in 2021, the company's chief financial officer said in October that higher prices are expected this year. J.M. Smucker Company's bottom line in the coffee segment has also been hurt by extreme weather and supply chain disruptions. The Ohio-based company, which sells coffee through the Dunkin' Donuts, Cafe Bustelo, and Folgers brands, raised prices in response. CEO Mark Smucker said during an earnings call in November. Finally, an article in The Hill written by Maureen Breslin on February 2nd of 2022, Starbucks raising prices to offset soaring costs, talks about how generally fast food prices in 2021 have shot up 8%, which is the highest increase in 2 decades, as chains have had to offset higher labor costs, food and transportation, the New York Times reports. The coffee company has also upped its focus and spending on employee benefits to address labor market conditions. Starbucks increased COVID-19 pay for workers, which includes paid time off for employees who get sick and paying workers to get vaccinated against the coronavirus. So as always, the greedy corporations are the culprit. Of course, this theory falls apart when you consider, again, that the prices of things like houses and used cars which are not controlled by greedy corporations and CEOs, the prices on those things have also gone up. But fuck it, blaming greedy merchants for price increases, that's just a lot easier. I mean, did anyone expect the Robespierre Reiches, the F-caps? I'm going to start calling the Robespierre Reiches F-caps economic fascists, formerly known as progressives. Because calling these people progressives, it implies that they are for progress, when they are in fact economic fascists, which economic fascism is the antithesis of progress. So we need to start calling these goons what they are: economic fascists, F-caps. Did anyone expect F-caps like Robespierre Reich, Ro Khanna, Dan Price, Pramelia Jayapal, Patriotic Millionaires, and the other 98% to maybe take a little responsibility? Maybe consider the fact that their dumb economic policies may have played a role in price increases? Did anyone expect that? These are the same monumental buttholes that champion a heavily regulated drug industry with an agency like the FDA, so that when America gets hit by a virus, a contagious virus that's fatal for a lot of people, while we have to wait months and months for their beloved bureaucrats at the FDA to rubber stamp things like vaccines, testing kits, and other treatments for markets, while we wait for that, months and months for that, they advocate, these F-caps advocate for shit like lockdowns. They insist that the government lock down the economy because, hey, it's just the fucking economy. What's the big deal? How much damage could locking down the economy, how much damage could that really do to the supply chains? Is making money really more important than actual human lives?
Blow it out your ass.
And then when small business owners have their businesses destroyed and people who are not considered essential workers,
No offense, but it sounds like some fucking commie gobbledygook.
Whether it's small business owners or non-essential workers, when people lose their sources of income because of lockdowns, these same F-cap monumental buttholes insist on printing trillions of new dollars in the name of relief.
That's just not smart.
After all that, could the supply chain disruptions and trillions of new dollars, could that be a reason for price increases? Nah, fuck it. It cannot possibly be inflation. Let's just blame the greedy corporations. Because in a culture of altruism and collectivism, making money is a much greater evil than politicians preventing people from making money.